JDBC drivers. What are they? Yes. So what are JDBC drivers? So JDBC drivers means they are nothing but set of classes which implement JDBC API interfaces. The implementation classes, I can say, basically they implement JDBC API interfaces. Okay. And in the last class, we saw how to download the JDBC drivers for MySQL Server. So if you want to work with MySQL Server, so along with JDBC API, you need JDBC drivers. So who provides this JDBC drivers? Who provides this JDBC drivers? Yes. So who is responsible for providing the JDBC drivers? The database vendors. That's right. So database vendors are the people who are responsible for providing JDBC drivers. Yes. Okay. Now, first suppose here, if you want to connect to the Oracle server, then you need JDBC drivers for Oracle server as well. Okay. Now let's see how to download this JDBC drivers for Oracle server. Okay. Yes. Just a second. So now let's go through this. Oracle JDBC drivers, sorry, JDBC drivers for Oracle. You see, this is the official site from where you can download the JDBC drivers for Oracle server. Now you see, you know that there are many Oracle server versions, not just one. So many dead Oracle versions here. Now you need to specify. Now you need to select the appropriate Oracle server with which you are trying to interact. Okay. Now, for suppose, let's say you are working with Oracle database 11G. Okay, 11G. So I'll click on this. So you can just copy this. I'll give you this link as well. You see. Now you can go to that link where you have that appropriate versions. You see, you have to download this jar file. Please make a note of it. What is this? OJDBC6.jar. OJDBC6.jar. Okay. So now what is this jar? What is this jar exactly? That is your JDBC driver. Okay. That is your JDBC driver. Now what to do with this jar here? After you're done downloading this jar, what to do with this jar? This jar itself is your JDBC drivers. This is your JDBC drivers and you have to add it to the build path. That's right. What to do with this jar? Add it to the build path. Okay. Now I gave you the steps in the last class how to add the JDBC drivers, I mean this jar, to the build path. Right? You can follow the steps. Okay. But if you want to connect to Oracle server, so you have to make few changes in the application. Okay. So in the JDBC application which you written earlier, there is a need to make some changes. Okay, let's see what are they. September 1st, 19. Okay. So first of all, you see the drivers which you have to load. This will change. What is this class? It's a class actually. It's referring to class. What is the class name driver? So it is in which package? org.gjt.mm.mysql. Okay. So as of now, you see this class, who provides this class? So earlier we were using it for MySQL server, right? So who's providing this class and where it is? Is it part of your JDBC, sorry, Java API? Is it in the standard Java API? I can say it is actually not part of your JDBC Java API. Okay, not even in JDBC API. So it is the class which is part of your JDBC drivers. This part of your JDBC drivers. Okay. Yes. So MySQL people have provided the drivers, right? As part of it, you'll find it. Yes. So now this is for MySQL server. So if you want to connect to Oracle server, then you have a different class which you need to load. So just a minute, I'll give you those details. Just a minute, sorry. Okay, so I used to have these details always handy, but since my machine has changed, so I need to get it. So driver class name, just a minute, Oracle. So this is the class which you need to load. If you want to connect to Oracle server, okay. So if you want to connect to Oracle server, this is the driver class which you need to load. Please make a note of it. Please make a note of it. Okay, fine. So yes, people have just joined. So I'm showing you people that the changes which you need to do to this code to connect to Oracle server. So if you want to connect to Oracle server, so first of all, you see this is a driver class which you need to load. So make a note of it. For each database server, so the driver class is going to be different. Okay. Okay. Next, okay, we need to also change this connection URL here. The connection URL will be different for Oracle server. So it will be JDBC colon Oracle column thin. Just a minute. Generally, connection URL for my Oracle. So you'll have documentations provided by these people. You can just refer to this documentations. You'll find it online. So for every database server you'll have them, but you don't have to worry much. So I'm giving you these details. Yes. So to connect to Oracle server, this is the connection URL which you need to use. Thin colon. Okay. At the rate localhost colon the schema name, and you'll have this username and password as usual. JDBC colon Oracle colon thin colon at the rate localhost colon 1521. You see, generally if the database server is on the same machine, so you'll give it as localhost. What if the database server is on a remote machine, on another machine? So then what happens? What if the database server is on another machine? Then what happens? So you'll provide the IP address of that machine here. In place of localhost, you need to provide the IP address of that machine. Okay, or you can provide the host name of that machine. If there is any host name configured for that machine, you can configure that host name, I can say. Yes. Fine. So you see, this is a standard port number for Oracle server. Generally, this is the port number which is used. And XC is also not standard, so it is just the schema name which you'll have generally. Okay, this is a schema name. Yes. Okay. So hope you people got these details. Next, what are the other changes you need to do? That's it. So these are the changes which you need to do. All other things will remain same. So the driver class which you need to load here, you see for Oracle is different. And what else? The connection URL. Yes. Next, okay. So people who have missed initially. So from where to download these drivers? I'll show you people the details also. I gave that link. I typed it in this. Just a minute. You see, this is a site. So similarly, you'll find sites for other versions of Oracle drivers for different versions of database. Okay. So you see, this is a jar, OJDBC 6.jar. That is the one which you need to download. Okay. Yes. Download that jar file and add it to the build path. Okay. Download that jar file and add it to the build path. Okay. Fine. So this is about Oracle Server. So hope everyone got it. Yes. So anyone got any questions in this regard? Please let me know. Okay. Just a second, please. Okay. So now we'll see how to connect to MySQL server. Sorry, Microsoft SQL Server. Okay. Yes. You know what? I don't have Oracle Server. I gave you the details, right? So you can definitely use these details to connect to Oracle Server. Okay. Without any doubt, you will be able to connect to that Oracle Server. Okay. Yes. So next, now I'll show you people how to connect to the what details are needed to connect to the Microsoft SQL Server. Yes. See, JDBC drivers for MS SQL Server. It's again from the official site itself. You can download these drivers. Yeah. So you got this download option. Okay. So let me see whether I have got this MySQL server. Sorry, Microsoft SQL Server drivers. Okay. So let me download it. I guess I don't have them. So you got different files which you can download. sorry. So I'll download this one, SQL JDBC4. Okay. Yeah. Click on next. Sorry, did I give you the link? I'll give you. Don't worry. Yeah. That is some issue. I'm able to download it. Okay, I'm getting it. Just a minute. See, so I got this exe file. Just run this executable file once. Okay. This is, this is just a self-extract folder. So you see, once you execute it, you see you'll get a folder, Microsoft JDBC driver 4.2 for SQL Server. So if you open it, in that you'll see this SQL JDBC 4. Then again you got ENU. In that you see you will find this SQL JDBC 4. You can take appropriate version of it. JDBC 4, JDBC 4.1, JDBC 4.2, anything works fine. Okay. Yeah. Now what to do with these jars? In one of the jars you have to add it to the build path. Okay. So that is the driver which you got here. So now I'll show you people the details, connection details. So if you want to connect to my Microsoft SQL Server, you see, this is the link which you need to use. Okay, just a second. This is the connection URL. First, I'll start with JDBC, sorry, driver class. So if you want to connect to Microsoft SQL Server, then you need to load these drivers. You see, okay. Have you made a note of it? Next, so you'll have a connection URL for this Microsoft SQL Server as well. What is that URL? This is the URL. So JDBC colon SQL Server colon / localhost 1433. This is a standard port number on which your Microsoft SQL Server will be listening. Sorry. And the database name can be anything you wish. It's user defined. This, as of now, here it is AdventureWorks. So it can be anything. It's a schema name. Database means a schema. So what is a schema? What do we mean by schema? Yeah. So it's a collection of tables, views, and procedures, you can say. Yes. The way we group similar classes together in Java using a package. Similarly, we can group similar tables, views, procedures, and all together in a schema. Yes. Or database name, we say schema or database name. Yeah. Okay. So these are the details which you're supposed to use to connect to Microsoft SQL Server. So similarly, for every database server, you will have this details. So you can download the jars, appropriate jars, and you can start working with it. Okay. Yes. So you see, this is the official site from where you can download this JDBC drivers for Microsoft SQL Server. Okay. Yes. So any questions in this regard? Okay, good. Hope you people got it right. So for each server, you got appropriate JDBC drivers. You need to download them, add them to the build path, and use this appropriate details. You see, every database vendor will provide you, along with the jar files, they'll provide you sample applications also. You see, we got some samples here, how to connect to the database server and all. So you see, you got that sample code here, so which they will provide, which you can make use of to understand how to connect to that particular database server. Okay. So you might be wondering how I know this details, right? Yeah. So by it's a responsibility of the database vendor to provide some samples and documentation to understand how to use that JDBC drivers to connect to that database server. Yes, that's it. So, any questions? Okay, good. So if it is clear, then let's move on. Now I'm going to talk about a design pattern. So there is a very popular design pattern, so which is used for writing the data access code. Data access code means data access code means the code which interacts with the database server. So whenever you're supposed to write that code, you see so far this code which you've written, this code is data access code itself. You've written it to interact with the database server. Okay. Here, generally to write the data access code, there is a popular design pattern called as DAO. You'll hear this data access object. So at first place, what do we mean by a design pattern here? Yes. What do we mean by design pattern? What is a design pattern? Yes. Can someone tell me what is a design pattern? Any idea? Like MVC, okay. It defines how we can access the data. So I'll tell you. You'll find a good definition online for the GDP, for the design patterns. So it's important to understand what is a design pattern, okay? Yes. So I'll make you people understand what's a design pattern. So, we got very good definitions. So in software engineering, a design pattern is a general repeatable solution to a commonly occurring problem. So people also say recurring problems. Recurring means, so again, which is commonly occurring problem in the software design or in the software development as well, I can say. Okay. So a design pattern isn't a finished design that can be transformed directly into code. It's not something which is complete. So it is a description of a template. It is a description or template for how to solve a problem that can be used in many different situations here. Yes. It is a description or template for how to solve a problem that can be used in many different situations. Okay, so you got another definition. Let's see. Is there anything else? So this is another definition for it. A design pattern systematically names, motivates, and explains a general design that addresses a recurring design problem in object-oriented system. Over the years, you'll find that the developers they have come across some recurring problems, regularly occurring problems, common problems. And what the developers have done is they actually found solutions for them. They found solutions. And the solutions they have used it, and they came to know that okay, the solutions were very effective. They've used it for years in many different application developments. They found that the solution which they have used was they were able to successfully implement it and address that recurring problem. They were able to successfully implement that. They were able to successfully address that recurring problem. Okay, they were able to address that recurring problem. So over the years, they found that the solution they were able to successfully implement it, successfully address the problem. So such solutions, you know, which they found, they have well documented them. You know, we call them as design patterns. So basically, they don't provide you any reusable code, but it just explains conceptually of how to address a problem statement. A recurring problem is a common problem. Okay, yes, a recurring problem or common problem. How to address it? That is what the design pattern does basically. Okay, yes. Okay, here It's this statement is important. It says it's a description or template for how to solve a problem. It's just a template or it provides a description, and it can be used in different situations, a different context. It means in different applications across application development, I can say. Okay. Yes. Fine. So one such design pattern is a DAO. One such design pattern is a DAO, data access object. One such pattern is DO. It's a design pattern, okay? DO, what is it? It's a design pattern, I can say. Yes. So this pattern is widely used when you're working with database, okay? And you see this is a very good reference site. So where you will find design patterns, okay? So it's very handy, go through them. Yep. Just make sure that whenever you got some time, just sneak into this site, try to understand various patterns. Okay, fine. Now for the design pattern for the DO, sorry, we got a site, official site, your Oracle site itself, where you can just refer. So you see the DO pattern is explained here. Don't worry much. So this is just a beginning. Might be it is little difficult for you people to grasp each and every word or term which is used here. So, but by the end of the training, you'll understand. So how it works. So a simplified explanation I'll give you people for this design pattern. Okay. So, but not everything I'm going to explain here. What you have in this page. Yeah, it is more than what you need. Yeah. Just refer to the site for the design pattern. You see the context. They'll give you the context, problem, for which problem you can apply this, forces, and solution. See, use a DO to abstract and encapsulate all access to the data source. Abstract and encapsulate all access to the data source. The DO manages the connection with the data source to obtain and store data. So if you can just make a note of it, so this will be great. What exactly the DO does. I can say DO abstracts and encapsulates or provides abstraction and encapsulates all access to the data source. So the DO manages the connection with the data source to obtain and store data. So, so it says DO should be used to access the database server and abstract and encapsulate all the access to the data source here in the DO itself. You have to write this code in the DO itself. Okay, now let's see how to implement this pattern. So first of all, I'm going to define a contract for that DO. So generally DO, you're going to implement it using object oriented. It is completely based on object oriented concepts itself. So to implement the DO, I'm going to define a class. To implement the DO, I will be defining a class here. So for that DO class, like I'll define a contract first. So what exactly the DO is supposed to do? So let's define a contract for the DO. How? Through the interface. So first I'm going to define an interface. See like this, com.do iProduct DO. So this is the interface. Here, so this is the interface, and in this interface I'll define the methods. So, in this interface now, I will define the operations for the DO. So what exactly the DO is supposed to do? As I told you people, it should provide all the access to the data source, perform, store the data as well as fetch the data. According to the pattern, DO pattern, it recommends us to define each a method. It recommends us to define a method for each DB operation. Okay, it recommends us to define a method for each database operation. So for every database operation, you try to define a method here in the DO. See, that is what I'm trying to do here. Okay. So I've defined a method add product, which helps us to add the product record to the database server. And similarly, we'll define another method here, get product by ID, which will fetch the product record based on the ID. I'll define another method which will fetch all the product records from the database server. So it returns a list of product objects, let's say. And we'll define another method which we use to delete a product record, let's say. So based on the ID. And add a method to update a product record. Yes. So this way, you see, you can add several other methods also for different types of DB operations. So for adding, for fetching, for updating, for deleting. So you see, for each DB operation, I've defined a method. You see that the method names are not prescribed, or there is no such standard here. So it's your wish. You can give any names. So I'm giving these names here appropriately. Okay. Yes. Okay. So this is a contract for the DO. This is a contract for your DO. Now we'll define a class which implements this interface. Okay. So do.impl. So I'll call it as product do impl, or you can say product do, you wish. So now I'll make this class implements that interface. Okay. So now I'll add all the methods at once here. You see, just a second. So it's no suggestions. Just a blank implementation for time being. Now, so I've just added blank methods here, so we'll implement them. And you know how to implement them almost. Yes. See, now for all these methods, there is something common. All these methods, they need something in common. What is the common thing which all these methods need? Can you people tell me? What is the common thing all these methods need here? Yes. A data source, a connection, I can say. Okay. Now all these methods, they need a connection in common, right? So now you know what I'm going to do here. Yes. Not only this DO, But almost all the DOs in a project, you can have several DOs. You see, for each table, you may create a DO and add the methods to perform DB operations. You know, with regard to that table. Yes. So what I will do is now I'm going to define a class here called as base DO, and in this class I will add that method called as get connection. So already we got the connection code. So let me just make use of it. Okay. Sorry. You see what exactly this method does when you invoke it. Can you people tell me? When we call this method, what exactly it does? Okay. I want just a brief description of it. That means just what exactly it returns. What you get. So why do we use this method now? How can we use this method? So basically, whenever this method is called, what it does, it returns a connection object. Whenever we call this method, simply it establishes a connection, it creates a connection object and returns that connection. Yes. Okay, hope everyone got this. Now you know what? That is the method which we need in common. So all the methods in the DO, not only in this DO, all the DOs in this project, they need that connection object, right? So what I'll do is here, I'll make this class extends that base DO. So that means now this class product DMPL, it inherits that get connection method from the base DO. Now let's try to write this code here. Already we implemented this add product, right? Just a minute. I'll copy this code. For adding a product object, we have this code already. So let's quickly make use of it. So I'll call this get connection method. So where is this get connection method defined? It's a base DO, right? It's in the base DO. That's it, you see? Now our code. So to add the product record, that's it. That is in this add product. So similarly, we got get product by ID, get products method is there. So let's implement get products. Already we did that earlier, right? We are fetching all the records. I see this common code which we have written earlier, that redundant code. We can just avoid that code. Now this method, when it is invoked, it creates a list object, you see. It executes this query, select star from test.product. Again, this method also uses get connection. So it fetches the records and stores them into product objects. And then in turn that product object is added to the list. So at last that list is written here. That's it. And similarly, we can also implement that get product by ID method. Let me just do that quickly. So this get product method, what it does, it will only fetch a single record from the database server. It will only fetch a single record from the database server. Select star from test.product where product underscore ID equal to question mark. Now here we have to use prepared statement object instead of statement object because we got a bind parameter in the query. Pass the select query and assign the value to that bind parameter. Set int of index is 1 and the ID. Now you can execute that query. You should not pass a query here. This time there is only one record which will be fetched, right? So fetching the record based on the ID. So what you'll do is you can use if condition. If that record exists, what you'll do, you'll simply create a product object. The product reference variable, I'll declare it outside of the try block so that it is accessible throughout the method. So now you see if that result set dot next method, if it returns true, that means there is a record. So we are creating a product object and we are reading the data from that result set and we are storing it into the product object. At last we need to return that product object reference. Okay, so I'll explain it once again. Let's see. You see here, so when you call this get product by ID method, so we need to pass a product ID. So this method executes the select query to fetch all the product records. Sorry, to fetch a product record, only one record from based on the ID. So we're declaring a product reference variable. So that we can create a product object and store the reference in this variable. So we're obtaining a connection, creating a prepared statement object, and you see we are assigning the value to that bind parameter which you got here in the query. So the value for that bind parameter will be passed on to this method as an argument. So that value we're using it here. And then you see we'll create a statement object. Sorry, we're executing that query which returns a result set object. Now we'll check whether we got any record or row. And you see if we got a row, so the next method returns true. Then we'll create a product object and we'll read the data from that row and store it into the product object. And at last, so we are returning that product object here. That's it. So is it clear for you people? Can I have yes or no? So hope you understood what I did so far in this DO. I'm just writing the code to connect to the database, to add the records, to fetch the records. So there are two methods, delete product and update product. I will leave it to you people. Try to implement these methods, okay? Deleting the product record and adding the product record. Yes. So this is about the DO. Now let's try to test this DO. So we got this method, right? Get products. So when it is invoked, it returns list of product objects. Okay. Yes. We'll test it. So this time I'll create a product DO object. DO impl object I can say. And call that get products method. So it returns a list of product records, product objects. So when you call the DO method, It simply returns list of product objects here. Now we'll try to iterate through that list using a for each loop. Okay, so we'll use this for each loop. Just run this code. So you got all the product records. So hope you people got it. Yes. Okay. Now can we tell me what is the advantage of using this DO? What is the advantage of using this DO? Okay. So code reusability you mean to say? So it says we need not write code again and again like connection code. Yeah. And what else? Okay, easy to understand. Common calls to retrieve. Okay, so this code is very much reusable. Now you see, throughout the application, wherever you need to interact with the database server to fetch the records or add the records, so you can make use of the product DO, right? These DOs very much reusable. Okay, so now you see there are a lot of other advantages. Now, the definition is we saw the DO definition. It provides abstraction and encapsulates all data access, all access to the data source. Now you'll find that yes, so the complete DB interactions with regard to the product now they are in this data DO, right? Now the rest of the application you need not worry about the database connections. You see, now I can say that this DO is also providing an object-oriented view of the database server. So the DO provides object-oriented view of the database server. So what do we mean by that? What do we mean by that? That means you see now the rest of the application. So whenever it wants to search the records or fetch the records from the database, so you see the DO will make sure that it transforms the records into objects and returns them. Okay. So now you see the complete data access code is encapsulated here in the DO, right? So it helps us to maintain this code also. For suppose if there is any change in the database servers or if there is any change in the tables or structures, you see now only the DO has to be modified, so the rest of the application still remains the same. Only the DO needs to be modified, so the rest of the application it remains the same, right? So please maintainability also. Now the rest of the application do not will not be affected even if there are any changes done to the database server and all. Okay, so that is another advantage I can say of using the DO. Okay, so any questions in this regard, please let me know. Okay, good. So hope you people understood this, right? So you know, this is what you'll see in real. So most of the projects will be using the DOs, and you see the separation of concerns this way. So functionality wise, you'll have different types of objects which will take care of these things. So we'll be using them regularly. So the DO also in web application development soon. So this week we are going to work with it. Okay. Yes. So I'll stop it here. Still, we'll be using it, and you'll come to know more about the DO. So there is something else I won't need to talk about the DO. But meanwhile, you can go through this, documentation for further reference. So I've got few things to tell you. Okay. So next, now what is the role played by the product object here in this DO? Can you people tell me what role it plays? Yes. What is the role played by the product object here? Can you people tell me? Yes, it holds the data. Now, the rest of the application, how the DO will be able to share the data with the rest of the application, or rest of the application, how it can share the data through this DO through the product object. So basically, it acts as a transfer object, we say. If, for example, let's say you got a business object. You see in this diagram here, it is explained. So we got a business object. What is a business object? What does that means? What is a business object? Business object means which encapsulates business logic, which holds business logic. Okay. So this object, so it uses DO maybe to add the records as part of business rules, or fetch some data from the database server as part of the business requirements. So now, see how this business object and DO will be sharing the data through the product object in our example, which you can call it as a transfer object. Yeah, it plays a role of a transfer object. That means it transfers the data from a DO to some other component or some other object which is using the DO. Okay, yes. So is this point clear for you people? Can I have yes or no? So now please go through this documentation, refer to this one. Yeah, so I'll stop it here today then, and in the next class I'll talk about stored procedures, and then I will introduce you people to web application development as well. Web application development. Okay, yes, we'll see web application development. That is your enterprise editions. Yes. Okay, so thank you all. Let's meet tomorrow and continue.